The morning sun cast golden rays across London as the city began to stir with unusual excitement. Today was different from any ordinary day. The Royal Albert Hall, that magnificent Victorian building with its distinctive red brick facade and towering dome, stood majestically in South Kensington, preparing for an event that would capture the attention of millions around the world. Inside the grand venue, teams of workers moved with practiced precision. The cleaning staff polished every surface until it gleamed, while florists arranged stunning displays of white roses and seasonal blooms throughout the building. Security personnel conducted their final sweeps, checking every entrance, every corridor, and every seat. The technical crew tested lighting systems and sound equipment, ensuring everything would be perfect for the evening's performance. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, stood before her mirror in Kensington Palace, her stylist carefully arranging her hair into an elegant updo. She wore a navy blue dress that complemented her graceful figure, paired with sapphire earrings that caught the light beautifully. Her makeup was subtle yet striking, emphasizing her natural beauty. As she looked at her reflection, she thought about the evening ahead and the importance of this particular event. William, the Prince of Wales, adjusted his formal evening wear in the adjoining room. His black tie was perfectly knotted, and his ceremonial decorations were positioned with military precision. He had attended countless events at the Royal Albert Hall over the years, but each occasion still filled him with a sense of pride and responsibility. Tonight's event was especially meaningful, as it supported causes close to both their hearts. The couple's private secretary briefed them on the evening schedule. They would arrive at 7:30 precisely, walk the red carpet where photographers and journalists from around the world would be waiting, meet with event organizers and special guests, and then take their seats in the royal box for the performance. Every moment was carefully planned, yet they both knew that the real magic would come from the spontaneous interactions with the people they would meet. Meanwhile, outside the Royal Albert Hall, crowds began to gather behind the barriers. Royal enthusiasts had traveled from across the United Kingdom and beyond, some camping overnight to secure the best viewing spots. They held small Union Jack flags and flowers, hoping for a glimpse of the beloved couple. Children sat on their fathers' shoulders, their faces painted with crowns and hearts, while elderly fans shared stories of previous royal encounters. The media presence was overwhelming. Television crews from major networks set up their equipment, while photographers tested their cameras and adjusted their positions. Radio presenters conducted live broadcasts, describing the scene to listeners who couldn't be there in person. Social media buzzed with anticipation as royal watchers shared updates and photos from the gathering crowd. Inside the palace, the couple's protection officers conducted their final briefings. The route to the Royal Albert Hall had been carefully planned and secured. Every potential risk had been assessed and appropriate measures put in place. The officers, dressed in their formal evening, were to blend seamlessly with the event, would maintain their professional vigilance while allowing the couple to engage naturally with their hosts and guests. The evening's cause was particularly close to Catherine's heart. As patron of several charitable organizations, she had worked tirelessly to raise awareness for mental health initiatives and support for young people facing challenges. Tonight's gala performance would raise significant funds for these causes, making every moment of preparation worthwhile. William reviewed his brief notes for the short speech he would deliver during the interval. He wanted his words to resonate with the audience and inspire continued support for the evening's charitable cause. As future king, he understood the power of his platform and the responsibility that came with it. The palace kitchens prepared a light meal for the couple before their departure. They would have little opportunity to eat during the evening, as royal protocol required them to focus entirely on their guests and the event's proceedings. The kitchen staff, who had served the royal family for years, understood these requirements perfectly. As the afternoon progressed, the excitement in London grew palpable. Tourist buses made special detours past the Royal Albert Hall, while local businesses prepared for the increased foot traffic that always accompanied royal visits. Hotel concierges fielded calls from guests hoping to catch a glimpse of the royal couple, and restaurant owners near the venue prepared for a busy evening. The couple's children had already been settled for the evening under the care of their nanny. Family time was precious, and both William and Catherine ensured their royal duties never overshadowed their roles as parents. Tonight, however, duty called, and they would represent the crown with the dignity and grace that had made them beloved figures around the world. As 6 o'clock approached, the final preparations were complete, and the stage was set for an evening that would be remembered long after the curtains fell. The royal convoy departed Kensington Palace at precisely 7:15, with the familiar black Range Rovers gliding smoothly through the London streets. Police motorcycles led the way, their blue lights flashing as they guided the procession through the evening traffic. Londoners paused on sidewalks and peered from windows, always thrilled to witness the passage of their future king and queen. Catherine sat gracefully in the back seat, her posture perfect despite the movement of the vehicle. She reviewed the program one final time, memorizing the names of key guests and performers she would meet. William sat beside her, occasionally pointing out familiar landmarks as they traveled through their beloved city. Despite years of such journeys, they never tired of seeing London from this unique perspective. The security team maintained constant communication through their earpieces, reporting on crowd sizes and any changes to the planned route. Everything proceeded smoothly, as it had been rehearsed multiple times in the days leading up to the event. The drivers, experienced in royal protocols, navigated with the steady confidence that came from years of serving the royal family. As they approached South Kensington, the crowds became more visible. Hundreds of people lined the streets, many holding handmade signs expressing their love and support for the royal couple. Children waved enthusiastically from behind the barriers, while adults raised their phones to capture photos and videos to share with friends and family around the world. The Royal Albert Hall came into view, its iconic dome illuminated against the darkening sky. Red carpets had been rolled out from the curb to the entrance, flanked by elegant rope barriers and beautiful floral arrangements. The building itself seemed to glow with anticipation, its windows warm and welcoming against the cool London evening. Media photographers immediately sprang into action as the convoy approached, their camera flashes creating a constant sparkle in the twilight. Television cameras tracked the vehicle's approach, broadcasting live to audiences across the Commonwealth and beyond. The excitement was infectious, spreading through the crowd like electricity. The couple's car came to a gentle stop at the precisely marked spot on the red carpet. William's protection officer opened the door and stepped aside with military precision. The prince emerged first, straightening his jacket and scanning the crowd with a warm smile. The assembled onlookers erupted in cheers and applause, their enthusiasm genuine and heartfelt. Catherine's door opened moments later, and she stepped onto the red carpet with a grace that had captivated the world since her engagement to William years earlier. Her dress caught the lights beautifully, and her jewelry sparkled as she moved. The crowd's cheers grew even louder, with shouts of "We love you, Catherine," and "Beautiful princess," ringing out across the square. The couple paused at the base of the red carpet, taking a moment to wave to the enthusiastic crowd. Children pressed against the barriers, hoping to catch their attention, while adults called out greetings and good wishes. William and Catherine both understood the importance of these moments, knowing that many of these people had traveled great distances and waited for hours just for this brief connection. Event organizers approached to greet them, led by the chairman of the evening's charitable cause. Formal introductions were made, though the couple had met with these individuals during planning sessions weeks earlier. The chairman expressed his gratitude for their attendance and support, knowing that their presence would significantly boost both attendance and donations for the cause. As they began their walk up the red carpet, photographers called out requests for poses and smiles. The couple obliged graciously, pausing at designated spots to allow for the best possible photographs. These images would appear in newspapers and magazines around the world, helping to promote both the evening's cause and the positive work of the royal family. Members of the Royal Albert Hall's staff lined the entrance, each person carefully selected to meet their distinguished guests. The venue's general manager stepped forward to welcome them personally, expressing his honor at hosting such an important event. The building itself seemed to echo with history, having welcomed royalty, world leaders, and celebrated artists for over a century. Inside the stunning entrance hall, the couple was introduced to major donors and supporters of the evening's cause. These brief conversations were meaningful, allowing William and Catherine to personally thank those whose generosity made the charity's work possible. Each person they met would remember this moment for the rest of their lives, feeling personally connected to the royal family's mission. The hall's famous corridors buzzed with elegantly dressed guests making their way to their seats. Ladies in evening gowns and gentlemen in formal wear created a sea of sophisticated elegance. Many paused to watch as the royal couple passed, offering respectful nods and warm smiles of welcome. Local dignitaries and civic leaders were presented to the couple in a receiving line that moved with practiced efficiency. Each introduction included a brief description of the person's connection to the evening's cause or their service to the community. William and Catherine engaged genuinely with each individual, asking thoughtful questions and expressing sincere appreciation for their work. The couple was then escorted toward the royal box, but not before meeting with several young people who had benefited from the charity's programs. These conversations were perhaps the most meaningful of the evening, as Catherine and William heard firsthand accounts of how the organization's work had transformed lives and created hope where there had been despair. The Royal Albert Hall's interior unfolded before them like a magnificent jewel box. The circular auditorium, with its soaring dome and intricate Victorian architecture, created an atmosphere of grandeur that never failed to impress even the most seasoned visitors. Tonight, every seat in the house was filled, creating a sea of expectant faces turned toward the stage and, occasionally, toward the royal box. Catherine and William were escorted through the venue's elegant corridors, past portraits of past performers and patrons who had graced this historic stage. The walls seemed to whisper stories of legendary concerts, memorable speeches, and countless moments of artistic brilliance that had taken place within these walls. Tonight would add another chapter to that illustrious history. The royal box, positioned prominently on the first tier, offered a perfect view of both the stage and the entire auditorium. The box had been decorated with fresh flowers and prepared with comfortable seating arranged to accommodate the royal couple and their small entourage. Heavy red velvet curtains framed the space, adding to the sense of occasion and ceremony. As they entered their box, a ripple of excitement swept through the audience below. Heads turned upward, opera glasses were raised, and a warm round of applause began spontaneously. The couple acknowledged the greeting with gracious waves, their presence adding an unmistakable sense of significance to the evening's proceedings. The program had been carefully curated to showcase both established and emerging talent, reflecting the charity's commitment to supporting artists at every stage of their careers. The evening would feature classical music, contemporary pieces, and special performances created specifically for this gala. Each act had been chosen not only for its artistic merit, but also for its connection to the themes of hope, resilience, and community support that the charity embodied. Before the performance began, the charity's chief executive was invited to address the audience. She spoke passionately about the organization's work, sharing statistics that demonstrated the real impact of the funds raised through events like this one. Her words painted a picture of young lives transformed, families supported through difficult times, and communities strengthened through collective action. William listened intently, knowing that he would soon be called upon to add his own remarks. As patron of the charity, he had visited their facilities, met with their staff, and seen firsthand the difference their programs made in people's lives. His upcoming speech would draw from these experiences, making his words authentic and compelling. The lights dimmed as the first performance began, featuring a renowned pianist whose interpretation of Chopin filled the hall with cascading melodies that seemed to dance in the air. The acoustics of the Royal Albert Hall, famous worldwide, carried every note with crystal clarity to every corner of the venue. Catherine closed her eyes briefly, allowing the music to wash over her, a moment of peace in an otherwise carefully choreographed evening. During a brief pause between pieces, guests in the audience below glanced upward at the royal box, some pointing discreetly and whispering to their companions. The couple's presence elevated the entire evening, making every attendee feel part of something truly special. Many would later describe this as one of the most memorable cultural events they had ever attended. The second performance featured a young violinist who had benefited from the charity's youth programs. Her story had been shared in the program notes, describing how she had discovered her musical talent through the organization's outreach work in underserved communities. As she played, her skill and passion were evident to everyone in the audience, providing a powerful demonstration of the charity's impact. Catherine leaned forward slightly, clearly moved by the performance. As a mother herself, she was particularly touched by programs that gave young people opportunities to discover and develop their talents. The violinist's journey from a struggling student to this prestigious stage embodied everything the charity hoped to achieve through its work. Between performances, the couple had the opportunity to meet with other distinguished guests who had been invited to join them in the Royal Box area during intervals. These included major philanthropists, government ministers, and celebrities who supported the charity's cause. Each conversation was meaningful, helping to build the networks of support that would sustain the organization's work long into the future. A contemporary dance piece followed, performed by a troupe that included several young people from disadvantaged backgrounds. The choreography told a story of struggle and triumph, perfectly capturing the themes of the evening. The dancers moved with extraordinary skill and emotion, their performance bringing several audience members to tears. The hall's famous organ, with its thousands of pipes rising majestically behind the stage, provided the accompaniment for a stirring choral piece that had the entire audience on their feet in appreciation. The sound seemed to fill not just the hall, but the very souls of those present, creating a moment of shared transcendence that reminded everyone why the arts held such power to heal and inspire. As the first half of the evening drew to a close, anticipation built for William's address to the audience. The prince had spent considerable time preparing his remarks, wanting to strike the right balance between formality and genuine emotion. He understood that his words would be reported worldwide and that they had the power to inspire continued support for the cause. The interval arrived, and house lights came up gradually, revealing the full splendor of the packed auditorium. Guests began to move toward the bars and reception areas, but many remained in their seats, hoping to catch another glimpse of the royal couple as they prepared for the evening's second half. During the interval, William and Catherine descended from the royal box to mingle with guests in the hall's elegant reception areas. The Prince Albert Lounge had been specially prepared for this purpose, with drinks and canapes arranged on silver trays carried by white-gloved servers. The room buzzed with animated conversation as guests discussed the evening's performances and the important cause they were supporting. The couple moved through the crowd with practiced ease, stopping to chat with supporters, donors, and volunteers who made the charity's work possible. Catherine engaged in a lengthy conversation with a group of young mothers who had participated in the organization's family support programs. Their stories of how the charity had helped them through difficult periods brought tears to her eyes and reinforced her commitment to the cause. William found himself deep in discussion with the charity's research director, learning about new initiatives planned for the coming year. The conversation covered innovative approaches to mental health support, partnerships with schools and community centers, and ambitious plans to expand services to reach even more families in need. His questions demonstrated not only polite interest, but genuine understanding of the complex challenges the organization faced. Meanwhile, The media presence outside the hall remained intense. Television reporters provided live updates to their audiences, describing the evening's events and speculating about the impact the royal attendance would have on future fundraising efforts. Photographers captured images of well-dressed guests arriving for the second half, creating a visual record of this significant cultural and charitable event. Inside the hall, technical crews used the interval to make final adjustments to lighting and sound systems for the evening's concluding performances. Every detail had to be perfect, as the second half would feature some of the most challenging pieces of the evening, including a world premiere composition created specifically for this gala event. As the interval drew to a close, guests began returning to their seats, their conversations animated by the inspiring performances they had witnessed and the meaningful encounters with the royal couple. The atmosphere in the hall had transformed from one of anticipation to one of shared purpose and community spirit. William and Catherine returned to the royal box, just as the house lights began to dim for the second half. The prince carried with him the small cards containing his speech notes. Though he had practically memorized the remarks he would soon deliver to the assembled crowd. His words would serve as both a tribute to the charity's work and a call to action for continued support. The second half opened with a powerful spoken word performance by a young poet whose work explored themes of mental health recovery and community support. Her words resonated throughout the hall, creating moments of profound silence followed by enthusiastic applause. The raw honesty of her performance provided a perfect emotional bridge between the evening's entertainment and its deeper charitable purpose. The charity's chairman then took the stage to introduce William, providing context for the prince's involvement with the organization and highlighting some of the specific programs that had benefited from royal patronage. The introduction was warm but brief, understanding that the audience was eager to hear from their future king. William rose from his seat and made his way to the stage, his bearing confident and dignified. As he approached the microphone, the audience fell silent, hanging on his every word. The prince began by thanking everyone present for their support and acknowledging the powerful performances that had moved them all throughout the evening. His speech wove together personal observations from his visits to the charity's programs with broader themes about the importance of mental health support and community resilience. He spoke about young people he had met who had been transformed by the organization's programs, sharing their stories with permission and emphasizing how small interventions could create life-changing opportunities. The prince's words carried special weight because of his own experiences with mental health advocacy and his understanding of the pressures faced by young people in contemporary society. His authenticity was evident to everyone present, making his call for continued support both compelling and deeply personal. Catherine watched from the royal box, proud of her husband's eloquence and passion. She had witnessed his preparation for this moment and knew how much the charity's work meant to him personally. His words were creating exactly the kind of connection with the audience that would translate into long-term support for the organization. William concluded his remarks by announcing a significant new royal initiative that would provide additional funding and support for the charity's programs. This announcement, kept secret until this moment, created a wave of excitement throughout the audience and demonstrated the royal family's ongoing commitment to the cause. The applause that followed was thunderous and sustained, with many audience members rising to their feet in appreciation. The prince acknowledged the response with characteristic humility before returning to his seat, knowing that his words would be reported worldwide and would help amplify the charity's message far beyond this evening. The final performances of the evening built on the emotional momentum created by William's speech. A renowned soprano delivered a stirring aria that brought the audience to tears, while a contemporary ensemble performed a piece that celebrated the power of community and collective action. Each performance reinforced the themes of hope and resilience that defined both the charity's mission and the evening's purpose. As the final notes of the evening's last performance faded into the magnificent dome of the Royal Albert Hall, a moment of profound silence settled over the audience. Then, as if released from a spell, The entire hall erupted in sustained applause that seemed to shake the very foundations of the historic building. The standing ovation continued for several minutes, with audience members reluctant to let this magical evening come to an end. William and Catherine rose from their seats in the royal box, their own applause joining that of the thousands gathered below. The couple exchanged glances that spoke of their shared appreciation for the extraordinary performances they had witnessed and the important cause they had helped to champion. This evening represented everything they hoped to achieve through their royal duties, bringing attention to worthy causes while celebrating the very best of British culture and talent. The charity's chairman returned to the stage to deliver closing remarks, his voice thick with emotion as he thanked the royal couple for their patronage and the audience for their generous support. He announced that the evening had exceeded all fundraising expectations, with proceeds that would fund the organization's programs for years to come. The news brought fresh waves of applause from the delighted crowd. All the evening's performers gathered on stage for a final bow, creating a colorful tableau of talent that had made the evening so memorable. From the classical musicians to the contemporary artists, from the established stars to the emerging talents supported by the charity, each had contributed something unique to this celebration of hope and community spirit. As the curtain fell for the final time, guests began the reluctant process of gathering their belongings and preparing to leave this enchanted space. Many lingered in their seats, unwilling to break the spell that had been cast over the evening. Conversations buzzed with excitement as attendees shared their favorite moments and discussed the impact of what they had witnessed. William and Catherine made their way from the royal box toward the backstage area, where they would have the opportunity to meet personally with the evening's performers. These private moments were among the most rewarding aspects of such events, allowing the couple to express their gratitude directly to the artists who had donated their time and talent to support the charitable cause. The backstage area hummed with activity as performers changed out of their stage costumes and wound down from their performances. The atmosphere was electric with the satisfaction that comes from a job well done and the knowledge that their efforts had contributed to something larger than entertainment. Each artist felt honored to have performed for the royal couple and proud to have supported such an important cause. Catherine spent considerable time with a young violinist who had benefited from the charity's programs, praising her technique and encouraging her to continue pursuing her musical dreams. The conversation was deeply meaningful for the young woman, who had never imagined that her journey from the charity's community programs would lead to performing for royalty at such a prestigious venue. William engaged with the contemporary dance troupe, asking detailed questions about their creative process and the personal stories that had inspired their powerful performance. His genuine interest and understanding of artistic expression impressed the young dancers, many of whom came from the same disadvantaged backgrounds that the charity sought to serve. The couple also met with the evening's technical crew, sound engineers, and venue staff, understanding that their behind-the-scenes work was equally important to the evening's success. These brief but sincere acknowledgments meant a great deal to the hard-working professionals who had ensured that every technical aspect of the performance was flawless. As the time came for their departure, William and Catherine made their way through the hall's corridors one final time, past the portraits of legendary performers and the architectural details that made this venue so special. The building itself seemed to glow with satisfaction, having once again served as the setting for an evening that combined artistic excellence with charitable purpose. Outside, crowds still lined the barriers despite the late hour, hoping for one final glimpse of the royal couple as they departed. The enthusiasm remained as strong as it had been hours earlier, a testament to the genuine affection the public felt for William and Catherine and their appreciation for the couple's commitment to meaningful causes. The royal convoy was waiting in precisely the same formation as it had arrived, the security team having maintained their vigilant watch throughout the evening. As the couple emerged from the hall, they paused once more to wave to the assembled crowd, their gestures warm and appreciative of the support they had shown throughout the evening. Camera flashes illuminated the night as photographers captured the final moments of this memorable event. These images would appear in newspapers and magazines around the world the following day, carrying the message of the evening's charitable purpose far beyond London and inspiring similar support in communities across the globe. As their car pulled away from the Royal Albert Hall, William and Catherine reflected on an evening that had perfectly balanced their roles as supporters of important causes with their position as patrons of the arts. The drive back to Kensington Palace provided a quiet moment to decompress from the intensity of the public event and to appreciate the genuine connections they had made with artists, supporters, and beneficiaries of the charity's work. The evening's success would be measured not just in funds raised or media coverage generated, but in the lives that would be changed by the programs the money would support. Young people facing challenges would receive help, families in crisis would find support, and communities would be strengthened through the work that this single evening had made possible. As London settled into the quiet hours after midnight, the Royal Albert Hall stood empty, but somehow still echoing with the music, words, and emotions that had filled its spaces. Tomorrow would bring new events and new performances, but tonight's gathering would be remembered as a perfect example of how royal patronage, artistic excellence, and charitable purpose could combine to create something truly extraordinary.